Welcome, students. This is your test review for March 6th, 2014. It's our test we're going to take right before our spring break. It's going to cover three major topics: multiplying binomials, GCF factoring, and trinomial factoring. Multiplying binomials is where we learned about the box method, double distribute, and the vertical method. GCF is just where we pull the greatest common factor out of the expression, so we end up writing a distributive property problem. And then trinomial factoring is the stuff we were here just doing over the last couple of class periods, where we create the x and write it as four terms. So we'll go through each one of those, getting you ready for your test. Remember to take these notes on your own notebook paper, bring them to class, and you can use them. They will be worth 100 points, but you can also use it on the test. Alright, we're going to start with multiplying binomials. Alright, so a binomial is a 2 by 2, so you get something that looks like this: x plus 3 times 2x minus 5. And I'm going to concentrate on the box method here. Those of you who do double distribute and the other ones, you guys can do that and just double check to make sure you get the right answer. If we're going to do box method, we write 1 across the top, and it doesn't really matter which one. I usually just put the first one across the top and the other one down the side. You multiply to fill each box, so I do 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times a positive 3 is 6x. Negative 5 times x is negative 5x. Negative 5 times positive 3 is negative 15. This is always the front of the answer. This is always the back of the answer. These two always combine to make the middle part of the answer. So on my calculator, I would type in negative 5 plus 6, and that's a positive 1x. Okay? You could also do 6 minus 5x. We probably would not see the 1, so it would just be 2x squared plus x minus 15. Okay. Let's take a look at another one here. What if we had x minus 3 squared? Squared just means that it's so nice we're going to write it twice, and so I wouldn't even need that anymore. So my box would look like this: x minus 3 and x minus 3. X times x is always x squared. X times a negative 3x is a negative 3x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. First part of the answer. Last part of the answer. Negative 3x and negative 3x. Negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6x. And so that is your answer. Okay. Alright, the next one is GCF. So GCFs, you have two parts. You got to figure out the number GCF, and you have to figure out the letter GCF. The number part, we're going to pull the biggest number that will divide evenly into all of them. Letter, we're going to do common letter and then smallest exponent. So let's take a look at the first one: 5x minus 20. So we look at 5 and we look at 20 and we go, what's the smallest number that will go into both of those? Always start with the smallest number. Will 5 go into both of them? The answer is yes. So we do 5 there, and we divide each one of these by 5. We look at them and say, do they have any common letters? This has an x, but that doesn't, so they don't have a common letter. So here, 5 divides into 5, it makes 1x. 5 divides into 20 for 4. So this is the distributive double rainbow problem that would have made 5x minus 20. Here's another one: 24x to the 5th minus 36x to the 7th. So we look at 24 and 36. We start with the small one. 24 won't go into 36, so we start thinking of the biggest factors of 24. The biggest factor of 24 is 12, and 12 will go into both of those. They both have x's, so we put an x on it. We'll go with the smallest exponent, which is 5. So then we would write 12x 5 under each one of them, and we would start dividing. 12 goes into 24 2 times. x5 minus 5, those cancel each other out, and so that is no longer there, so that's a 2. 12 goes into 36 3 times. 5 cancels into 7. 7 minus 5 leaves us with a 2, so that's minus 3x squared. This is the double rainbow problem that would have made that one up there. Okay. This one is trinomial factoring, and that's where we do the box and splitting up the term and all of that stuff. Alright, so trinomial factoring. If we have x squared plus 5x plus 6, we set up the x, we do 1 out there times 6 is 6. middle number goes here. And we ask ourselves what multiplies to be 6 and adds to be 5. And the answer is 2 and 3. Those are going to be the splitting of the 5. So we have 4 parts here. X squared. This gets split up into 2x, positive 2x, and positive 3x, and then this gets brought down here, plus 6. So that the first one gets brought down, the last one gets brought down, the middle one gets split. Then we group, 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 group. We ask ourselves, well, what do x squared and 2x have in common? And the answer is x, so we divide out an x. X goes into x2 and leaves us with an x. X's cancel, leaving us with a 2. 3x and 6 have a 3 in common, a positive 3, so we're going to divide both of those by 3. 3's cancel out, leaving us with an x. 3 goes into 6, leaves us with a plus 2. These parentheses will always be the same if you did it right. That's the first part of your answer. The outside stuff will be the second part of your answer, and that is our final answer for that one. Let's take a look at another one. X squared minus 9x plus 20. So 1 times 20 is 20. We're trying to get a negative 9 out of it. So what multiplies to be 20 but adds to be negative 9? If you're not sure, you go to your calculator and you do y equals 20 divided by x, and you do second graph. And since this is a negative, you're going to start looking through your negative numbers, and you'll find out that negative 4 and negative 5 make it. So this gets brought down, 1x squared. This gets split to be negative 4x and negative 5x, and then you bring down your positive 20. Group, 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 group. These first set right here, they have an x in common, so you bring out the x. X cancels into x squared and leaves you with an x. X's cancel, leaving us with a minus 4. Here, anytime we have a negative out front, we have to pull out a negative number. 5 and 20 have a 5 in common, so we're going to pull out a negative 5 out of both of those. Here, negative 5 and negative 5 cancel, leaving us with x. Negative 5 divides into 20 negative 4 times, and again, the parentheses are the same. So that's the first part of our answer, x minus 4. The outside stuff makes up the rest. Let's flip more. Let's try something with it's a little bit more complicated here. 2x squared plus 7x plus 5. 2 times 5 is 10 on top, 7 on bottom. What multiplies to be 10 but adds to be 7? So multiply to be 10 but adds to be 7. That is 2 and 5. So split this up. So this is 2x squared. This gets split to be plus 2x and plus 5x, and then plus 5 here. Group, 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 group. What do 2x squared and 2x have in common? And it is 2x, so sometimes you can have a number and a letter, so that gets divided. That gets divided. 2's cancel. X goes into x squared, x times. Here, the 2's cancel and the x cancels, leaving us with just 1. Here, 5x and 5 have a 5 in common, so we're going to pull a 5 out front and divide each one of those by 5. 5's cancel, leaving us with x. 5's cancel, leaving us with 1. Again, those are the same like they have been. So the first part of the answer is x plus 1. The last part of the answer is 2x plus 5. All right, one last problem here. What if we had a box that looks like this, and we knew the area on the inside was 6x squared minus x minus 2, and somebody told us this side was 2x plus 1, and we're trying to find the missing side. So basically, at the end, we know this is 2x plus 1 times something else. We just don't know the something else. So we would have to factor this part inside the box. So 6 times negative 2 is negative 12, with a negative 1 underneath. So we're looking at what multiplies to be negative 12, but adds to be negative 1. And the answer is negative 4 and 3. And again, I did that by going y equals negative 12 over x. This is going to split my term, so this is 6x squared minus 4x plus 3x, bring down my minus 2. So the first part here, 6x squared and 4x. I look at the 4. 4 won't go into 6, so I know a 2 will, so I'll pull out a 2. They both have an x in common, so I divided 2x out of each one. 2 goes into 6 3 times. X cancels out that and leaves us with 3x. Here 2 goes into 4 2 times. X's cancel, so that's 3x minus 2. Here on this one, this 2 right here, they don't have anything in common. So when that happens, I still have to factor something out, so I'm going to pull out a plus 1. Divide both of those by 1. When you divide by 1, nothing really happens. This ends up being 3x minus 2, but that's what we needed to happen. See how those are the same? So here's your 2x plus 1. Those came there. And this part is our answer, 3x minus 2. So our answer to this one would have been 3x minus 2. Okay? The one thing you need to think about on this test, and with all multiple choices, that you can always use the answer choices to do a lot more than you think about. So if you have a problem and you're not sure about some of these methods that we've been doing, take a look at the answer choices and see if you could multiply them back out to get the right answer. And we'll talk more about this before we take our test on Thursday.